We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxing Ego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Andre S.O.G. Ward remains undefeated and totally cooks the sanctioning bodies, questions how they even exist in modern boxing, and justify taking a percentage of the fighters' pay. Shakur Stevenson says, basically, fighters, they're robbing us at this point. Without further ado, roll the clip.
I really need somebody to help me understand, what does the sanctioning bodies do? How do they justify a percentage of your gross pay? Oh, they supervise the fight and, they send their officials. You have commissions for that. It's just one of those things in boxing that have been around for a long time and nobody questions it. Now, some fighters, when they get into a position and they have the leverage, you can negotiate. And I'm gonna go ahead and put that nugget out there for fighters. You can negotiate. Floyd Mayweather's not paying 3% of what he fought Manny Pacquiao for, I guarantee you. Manny Pacquiao's not paying 3%. I don't like it, Kate. I don't understand what they do for the money. We can't say that we hate seeing fighters broke at the end of their careers, and it doesn't help when you have everybody's hand in your pot. Promoters, managers, sanctioning bodies, and God knows who else. It's a problem. What do the sanctioning bodies do to justify taking that kind of percentage from a fighter's purse? I'll wait.
What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Sir Andre S.O.G. Ward was cooking. He's putting the full court press on, sanctioning bodies, and tipping off these young fighters. Listen, Andre Ward is a veteran. He's a G in the game. Y'all better listen up. All the young fighters, that was, like Gilly and Wallow say, $1 million worth of game from S.O.G. Ward. So Andre Ward, he takes aim and talks about almost an issue that's taboo in the world of boxing in terms of the sanctioning bodies. I've brought up this topic. You guys just heard what S.O.G. Ward had to say. And, for me, my thoughts, I completely concur with everything he was saying. Now, Andre Ward revealed something that many guys that are fans of boxing, guys and girls, did not know. The sanctioning bodies, they take a percentage of your gross, and that's pretty gross. That's a bar. Because like Andre Ward is imploring and asking to the public, what do they do to deserve that type of cut of your money? And again, a lot of fighters should heed these warnings. And it's not like Andre Ward hasn't been there and done that. This is a man who, one, retired undefeated. So he has the amateur pedigree. We'll start there. And he was a gold medalist. He was actually the last male gold medalist to medal with the actual gold in the US, not like Cuba or Ukraine or somewhere else. Clarissa Shields also got a medal, but she, of course, is a woman, right? And shout out to the GWO. Shakur Stevenson, who Andre Ward was working with in some capacity, has a silver medal. He lost his gold medal match to Robisi Ramirez out of Cuba. So Andre Ward, as it sits as of me recording the video, is the last male from America to get a gold medal. So there's no reason for him to pump fake. There's no reason for him to not address the facts. It's not like he had a career that is not a gold standard in boxing. He retired undefeated. He made great money. He continues to make money in the sport of boxing and probably outside of boxing and things like that. And he's posting this, and this was on, let me give credit to Kate ADBO. She has a show. The link is in the description. As always, you guys know how I get down. She has a show called The Good Fight. Shout out to her. So to check that interview out in its entirety, you want to click there. But I really thought Andre Ward hit the nail on the head with everything that he said. He was asking, what are the sanctioning bodies doing? How is it justified? How are they getting a percentage of your gross? Not like you start a gym membership and they're like, oh, here's an enrollment fee and that's $50. And it's just everybody who, unless they have a promotion, is $50. They're getting a percentage. That's a percentage cut, like they're your manager. So imagine fighters like Tyson Fury, Imagine fighters like Teofimo Lopez or whoever, when they have multiple advisors and managers. Like, for example, let's say Teofimo Lopez. He has his dad. He has Dave McWaters, split team management, and he also has Top Rank and Bob Arum. He had most of the belts. I'm not going to call him undisputed because Devin Haney has a belt, and the real undisputed is Devin Haney versus George Kambosos. Make sure you guys check that out. For more content, you guys can subscribe to my channel. But he had most of the belts in beating and defeating Vasily Lomachenko. So they're taking for that position, and when he had the belts, they're taking a percentage of his money. And how is that really justified? You know, he had multiple belts, so they're all getting a cut. Dave McWaters in split team management gets a cut. His dad, his trainer, gets a cut. Bob Arum gets a cut. Top Rank gets a cut. ESPN, you know, the pie could be sliced up with them. Then you look at the fighter lifestyle. He has to have, you know, if you're a young fighter, you probably want nice things. You might have a car note, mortgage. You got to pay your rent. Then on the business side, and this is very, very minimal. And I'm not even going to deep dive into everything. Like if you have kids and all that, we know these are additional expenditures. But I'm just going to basically bare bones middle it, you know what I'm saying, middle of the road, just spitball it so you guys have an idea. But fighters for the business side, if you have a big fight and you're supposed to be like a $100,000 fighter, millionaire fighter, multi-millionaire fighter, you want to have a good training camp. You have to have a facility. So if you're big enough like Canelo Alvarez, you might have your own gym. You got to keep the lights on. So that's another Canelo. We know Canelo makes a lot of money, so he's the rare exception to the rule. But I'm just giving you guys examples. So Canelo has to pay multiple residences, you know, pay for his house, pay for his cars, and also pay to have his gym stay open, or Eddie Reynoso, however they have that arranged, things like that. So most fighters probably, especially if you're starting off, you might not be in a position and have the capital to have your own personal gym and can keep the lights on in a nice facility, not like some hole in the wall motel type of deal, but a real nice facility like Canelo, you know, like a real boxing gym. Then even if you are lucky enough to have your own boxing gym, you got to pay for equipment. I mean, the heavy bags that Everlast probably is not going to furnish everything for free, you know, sparring gear, a ring, things like that. But that's for the upper echelon, we'll say, like the Canelos and Charlos and Errols and Crawfords. They've been in the game. They're veterans. They've been making the pretty penny. So let's say they have their own gyms. But for the other fighters that have to go to someone's gym, that's a commute, you know, unless you live in the gym, you know, and you have like a room in the back or something, which I don't know too many fighters that actually live in the gym unless they own it, right? So you would have to commute. You got to worry about all these things, right? Sparring partners, you're a multi-millionaire fighter or a thousandaire fighter, you're going to have to get good sparring or be ill prepared for your big fight, things of that sort. Nutrition, that's big, that's paramount. You got 6, 8, 10 weeks, maybe less if they only gave you 2-3 weeks to train. So you got to get your nutrition together, got to go to Whole Foods and Trader Joe's, get a nutritionist, whatever. So all these things add up. And then you couple that with the fact that the sanctioning bodies are taking a cut and you have multiple belts and you got multiple hands in your pocket. Andre Ward is 1000% correct. Now, I'm not going to reveal their name out of respect, and that's not how I get down. I've been in this game and it's unnecessary to the story, but there's a fighter that I know personally that you all know, and I know you guys would know them if I were to reveal the name, which I will not do. But I remember talking to said fighter and they told me how much they were paying in sanction fees. It's a fighter you all know and have all watched if you're, you know, an avid boxing fan. And it blew my mind when I found out how much was owed for their belts, you know, and how much they actually have to pay in sanctioning fees. So I've known about this for a while. I've talked about this for a while. And then Andre Ward, he brought up another amazing point. Boxers, we don't have like an actual 401k pension plan for the fighters. But then when you see fighters like Mildred Taylor, and I heard at one point he was working at a grocery store, everyone's like, oh, and feels sorry. But look, we have people promoters that have robbed fighters over the years, managers, you know, sanctioning bodies and things like that. So this definitely needs to be explored. And a lot of things happen in boxing and people just kind of view it as, oh, that's just the way it is, like Tupac, like the song. And we can change and make changes, but of course, those people in positions of power or who are milk of the system or getting that free money, so to speak, and they have sanctioning bodies, a lot of them like the WBC is quote unquote non-profit. So they probably save money on their taxes and things like that, being a non-profit, but they are making profit, right? And the fighters is at their expense. And then what becomes worse, which Andre Ward, I don't know if he talked about because I haven't watched the full interview, but let's say the fighter had the belts like Teofimo and then they lost to George Kambosos, or even worse, they get knocked out. Now in boxing, we know how the fans receive that. And now this guy has no belts and he has a loss. So his stock has plummeted, or her stock has plummeted, and you don't have the belts. So you don't have the sanctioning bodies taking your money anymore because you no longer have a belt because you got slept in your last fight. However, now it's harder for you to get those mega paydays. So it's really like a lot of vultures in the game and a lot of hands in the cookie jar. And then when it doesn't work out for you, like let's say Erickson Lubin just lost his last fight. Now you're out of the rankings and now they've kind of served their purpose and leached off you. Let's say you had a regular WBC interim silver belt, blah, blah, blah. Now that you lost, okay, now they might not be in your pocket, but at the same time, they have no more use for you and your stock has dropped. And now, you know, networks or whoever could look at it and be like, oh, you're coming off a loss. We paid you $1 million last time. We can't give you $1 million coming off a loss. So we'll only give you 600,000 or less than that or whatever the case is. So it's a dirty game, man. Shakur Stevenson said, yes, please make it make sense. So he doesn't understand it. And he's an active champion who just won an additional belt, beating Oscar Valdez. And also the Ring magazine was on the line for Valdez Stevenson. He says, I feel like they just robbing us at this point. Great. I'm glad young fighters are starting to see it as well. Lastly, for me, I think the other thing is like, what are the sanctioning bodies doing in terms of representation? Because you look at, let's say, Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Oh my God. When he was the WBC and he was the champion, and then he lost to Tyson Fury, he believed that something underhanded was done in the fight with Tyson Fury in the second fight. And the WBC said, oh, that's ridiculous. They didn't even investigate. They didn't look into it. So what type of representation are you truly getting? You see guys, and it's not just Wilder. I could do this all day, but you see guys like Canelo Alvarez, and he got the pick of the litter, and the WBC seems to change the clenbuterol rules and bend the rules, and the Caleb Smith fight, they'll throw in a belt. So David Benavidez was a two-time WBC champion, and he was paying his sanctioning fees, I'm assuming. And as soon as he lost the belt, not to a fighter, but extracurricular things outside of the ring, and then one time making weight, so he lost it before the fight and wasn't eligible. And then as soon as he had the opportunity, Mauricio Suleiman and the WBC allowed Canelo to fight for the belt before they allowed David Benavidez to. So David Benavidez paid his sanctioning fees with the WBC, and then as soon as the belt was lost on the scale and it became vacant, instead of ordering David Benavidez versus Caleb Smith, they allowed Canelo payday. You want payday? I know that. Who they're saying is the face of boxing, and they allowed him to do whatever he want and then have an easier route to undisputed. But realistically, David Benavidez should have fought Caleb Smith since they were both highly ranked and you had a former champion, and then Canelo should have fought the winner. Canelo shouldn't have had to be able to pick and select and go straight to Caleb Smith. You should have got the highest two ranking people, and then Canelo can fight Yildirim or whatever else he was going to do. And then Canelo had to fight Caleb Smith versus David Benavidez winner, which for my pick, I would have picked Benavidez to stop Caleb Smith. So the sanctioning bodies, if they're supposed to be representing you, they're not really representing you evenly, because Canelo will use him again. The WBC made Jermall Charlo the email champion, just like they did with Devin Haney, and they allowed Lomachenko and they allowed also Canelo Alvarez to become franchise champions and not have to fight those said black fighters, Devin Haney and also Jermall Charlo. So Jermall Charlo has to pay sanctioning fees on top of his fat mansion and crib and stuff like that, and his kids. and he got to pay sanctioning fees. And they didn't even ensure the rules were followed to the point where he got to fight Canelo. Now you have fans bashing both of these guys, both black fighters, Devin Haney and Jermall Charlo, saying, oh, you guys suck and you ain't fought nobody. You got your belt in the email and they mailed you your belt, and their reputation is being tarnished. And this is supposed to be the sanctioning body you're paying for that is allegedly representing you and giving you a fighting chance and building your brand. But I don't really see that. Jermall Charlo and Jermell Charlo, their charisma, their interviews, their training, their relationships with Drakes and, you know, Chris Browns and stuff like that, and their fight skills and that type of thing, that's why they're popular. I ain't never liked a fighter because of the sanctioning body. I don't care what. Errol Spence could be naked, pause, and I don't mean literally. I'm talking about have no belts. That's Bay Area slang. He had nothing on him. He had no belt, no WBC. I still respect him. Wilder ain't got a belt, and I still like Wilder. You see what I'm saying? David Benavidez, he don't got no belt, and I still am checking him out this weekend. So, you know, man made the money, money never made the man. These belts don't make you who you are. You know, Floyd is great. Roy Jones is great. I don't care if they had belts or not. I like it. You know, Prince Nassim, I don't care about no belt. I'm supporting what I like. Muhammad Ali, I shook up the world. So shout out to Andre Ward. Andre Ward, and the thing that's real meaningful is he don't pop out unless he really got something to say. Andre Ward is going to make sure his words mean something. So respect to Dre Ward for opening up the floodgates for people like myself to even be able to talk about this even more. So great content from Andre Ward and Kate Abdo. Let me know what you guys think. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. The future is now. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. Hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC. Bluetooth ready with a low latency USB adapter, color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation. Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TubeBuddy. I've used TubeBuddy for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TubeBuddy and level up your channel faster. We working.